Hello everyone and welcome back to Beast Wars Backtrack. I'm your host, Mouse13, and today we are looking at Beast Wars Transformers Heroic Maximal Baboom. While I've had a version of Baboom ever since childhood, this version is actually one that I got off of a former coworker and even included the original box. That's pretty darn cool. So before we take a look at the actual figure, let's go ahead and take a look at the box. So first of all, I think this is one of the first sort of Series 1 Beast Wars boxes we've looked at on this channel. And this is kind of what I think about when I think about Beast Wars. We got the sort of orangish brown dino lizard skin, the yellow interior, the yellow sort of sunburst thing here, the green Beast Wars logo. It's very nostalgic for me. Also on the sides you can see the green lizard eye. So yeah, very cool stuff there. Got all sorts of text on here. We got Mandrill becomes expert guerrilla warfare robot with mega artillery mode. So that's what his toy looks like. And this is the illustration of what his robot mode looks like. And he would have come packaged in beast mode in here. So Heroic Maximal Baboom, Transformers, Kenner, because Hasbro handed the Transformers license off to Kenner and told them, hey, we don't know what to do with this anymore, make it better. And they did, and basically saved the franchise. As we saw earlier on the side, we got Beast Wars Transformers, got the big eye thing going on here, and a little bit better look at the illustration for Baboom. Then on the back we have the tech spec. So what do we got here? We got a strength of 8, intelligence of 7, a speed of 6, an endurance of 7, a rank of 7, a courage of 9, a firepower of 9, and a skill of 6. And what does his bio say? A guerrilla warfare tactical expert, Baboom is one of the fiercest and most unpredictable of the Maximals. Though hard to control and often driven by a temporary fury that sends him speeding up and down trees, his focus while in battle is easily apparent by the savage fire in his eyes. Dexterous, brave, and clever, Baboom is fiercest while in mega artillery attack mode, a state in which his arsenal is a fully loaded and functional as a battle emplacement. His favorite weapon, a launcher hidden within his mouth, deploys a pulse missile that detonates but do not burn, leaving his best weapon, the wilderness, unharmed. I dig that, and he's a guerrilla warfare expert, which makes sense with the thing that they said about the tree, and is a nice little play on the fact that he is a monkey. Then on this side we have biogenetic engineering has allowed the Transformers to create a perfect cybernetic fusion between ferocious animals and mechanical technology. The result, heroic Maximals versus evil Predacons. Robot warriors disguised as wild animals in an explosive fight to the finish. The Beast Wars have begun. Collect them all. And this was released in 1997. And a neat thing with the barcodes here is you actually had the name on them. So I actually have a lot of these saved. I think I've already shown that off. Let's see, down here we have a call out for other figures that were available at the time. I think this is the second year of the line. So we got on the Maximals Rhinox, Cybertruck, who sadly I never had, Armadillo, who I do have, but he's missing a leg, Air Razor, who I do have, Wolfang, who I never got, and Tigertron, who I have, and I think you've seen on this channel. Then for Predacons, we got Black Arachnia, who I have, but I don't know where he's at she's at anymore. Buzzsaw, never got. Insecticon, have that one shown off. Razorclaw, have that one. Can't remember if I shown that off here or not. Snapper, have that. Jetstorm, have that. That's a real cool one. I need to show that one off sometime soon. And Inferno. I do have that one and should show it off at some point. And over here we got Mandrill becomes expert guerrilla warfare robot. Mega artillery attack mode. Hidden pulse missile launcher. Battle ready stance. Secret color change, Energon chip. I just love all the call-outs to this stuff on here. It's one of the advantages they had where they didn't have to shove a whole bunch of different languages on there. I understand why they do that now, but I do miss this kind of packaging that we used to have. Then up here, it's the same thing as before. A little bit better look at the illustration, and yeah. Okay, now that I've bored you guys with the package, let's take a look at the actual figure. Alright, and here's Baboom in beast mode on my fancy new turntable. And I really love the look of this guy. His colors are completely unrealistic because he's blue, but it just looks really, really cool on him. Now, something I am noticing on at least this copy of the figure that I don't remember on my childhood version is we got some multiple shades of blue here, and I don't know if that's because they reacted differently to exposure to sunlight or something, or what, but it's very noticeable, which I don't remember noticing as a kid, so that's a thing. I do know that Transformers are often made with different kinds of plastic, even if they're going to be the same color, because some of them do different things. But overall, this is a very cool looking beast mode. You got lots of molded in hair, and it looks pretty organic, though you got some exposed robot bits back here, as well as on inside of the arms. But they also closed up his chest here. You got a little bit of exposed right there, but part of the transformation involves covering up this part, and I think that's really cool. This guy was a Mega class, which I think the closest equivalent we have to that nowadays is Voyager. Although, again, things have changed so much that it's kind of hard to make a hard, fast equivalence. But because of that, they were able to make them bigger and have a lot more parts, which is handy because this guy has a lot going on. Like, one neat feature he has, you can push that and his sort of eyes open up and his mouth opens up, spring-loaded. And you can use this little switch on his back to push forward his missile launcher. And if you have the missiles loaded in there, I think it even fires off once it gets to a certain point. And that's pretty cool looking, if a bit weird. And you just close it up like that. And he's got pretty good articulation. Shoulders, even a bicep swivel here, elbow, wrist. Part of that's because this is also for his robot mode. And legs also are for robot mode, but they still have pretty decent range. Even waist articulation. This guy's very impressive for the time. And here it is in its attack mode. And as silly as this thing looks, I've always kind of loved it. It's just bristling with weapons, and it's just a neat little attack platform thing. I've always loved this thing. Lots of good memories of playing around with it like this. I think what's also cool about this form is he's even got an actual head here that looks different enough from the other heads that he has that it's an interesting look on him. You can see more silver has been revealed, as well as basically more robot parts thanks to the way things are rotated. He's not exactly the most stable thing. It takes a bit of positioning, and you have to make sure like the ball joints here on these parts are positioned just right, otherwise his guns will be pointing like down. But he just looks pretty cool. I think the only part I don't like is these parts just sort of hang off to the side. It'd be nice if they somehow rotated or just disappeared entirely. But limitations of the time. If you really want, you can have a smaller figure like Armadillo here sort of sit or maybe even stand on him. Though you'd probably have to support him because I think it's something that they had intended but could never really flesh out. It does look like it's supposed to be like that though, right? I'm not crazy. The cannon can still pull out. You can either use this part here or the switch underneath. And as you can see, it will engage the missile part here. I'm not going to fire off the missiles because I run the risk of those disappearing on me. Oh yeah, and for some reason, I always thought this thing reminded me of the hover tanks from Southern Cross, the second series in Robotech. For those of you only familiar with the Robotech part. Just something about the way it transforms. The hover tanks had 3 modes, and it just made me think of this. I'm probably way off base on that, but it's the way my brain works sometimes. For now, though, let's go ahead and get this guy in robot mode. Maximize! And here he is in robot mode. And oh man, I just love the way this guy looks. He's still just sort of exuding firepower everywhere. with the missiles loaded up on his chest and the gun sticking out of his back. It's just a very cool look, and the color scheme I just think works very, very well for him. The silver and blue are just amazing, and the gold accents just really do add something to it. Now, before I get too much farther, I should address something. Eagle-Eye viewers probably noticed something happened during the transformation scene, and yep, a small part popped off of him. You can see right here, there should be a little cross member, and that is now gone. This guy is made out of gold plastic, and while I don't know if it's specifically GPS plastic, it certainly does look like it, so just be aware. This guy doesn't feel like anything else is going to fall apart, and this was a tiny little part that I was afraid was going to pop off eventually anyway, so just viewer beware. That out of the way, let's go ahead and take a closer look at this guy. So articulation wise, he's got the same articulation that we saw before in his monkey mode, which is pretty darn good. The waist articulation in particular is actually very surprising, not something you see a whole lot in Transformers at the time. You even have rotation there at the hip and at the feet. No ankle tilts, obviously. If you want, you can pop the gun off and you can put it in his hand. He looks a little silly because his hand isn't really made for gripping the gun. I mean, it has the port on it, but it just isn't molded to look like he's actually holding anything. So while you can have him hold it, he looks kind of weird with it. So we're just going to put that back. These parts right here is what I think are really cool. And if you want, you can even pop these down and pretend that he's firing off the gun barrels from here. And that's one of the things I loved about this guy, is that he is very versatile play-wise. You can pose things all sorts of different ways and just get your own feel out of this character. He didn't have any presence in the show. He wasn't a background character or anything like that. And he didn't really have any appearances lore-wise until like some of the comics. I think maybe he might have been in some of the club fiction, but the closest he actually got to anything lore-wise was the Japanese version of him, Apache, was in Beast Wars 2nd, I believe. But that's a different character. It's virtually the same toy, but a different character. Oh, and I guess I would be remiss to say, I think, or to not say that head sculpt there, I mean, does anybody else think that looks like Mr. T? A really angry Mr. T with pointy ears? Yeah. Always thought that was kind of cool, and kind of makes me wish that if they had put him on if they had put this character in the show, if they would have Mr. T voice him, because wouldn't that be perfect? Wouldn't that be absolutely perfect? But yeah, this is a very cool figure, and I can highly recommend him. Just be careful about the GPS on him, potentially. And yeah, that is a review. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. Check the description below for links to my storefront where you can get official shelf space t-shirts and more. And yeah, thank you again. I'll see you the next time on Beast Wars Backtrack.